Okay. So on Friday, July 24th, 2026, LeBron James has signed to the Philadelphia 76ers to end his career. $8 million, 2 years. The second year has a player option on the back of it. So this could be his final year. Who knows? But I think he's going to spend at least 2 years in the Philadelphia 76ers jersey. This is some crazy times that we're living in the NBA world, in the basketball world. There's been so much turnover and stars just being traded, being signed. Personally, it feels like ever since Luka Doncic was traded over a year ago to the Los Angeles Lakers, I feel like at this point anything could really happen in the NBA. So it's just been a crazy offseason, probably the craziest that we've ever seen in the NBA or in sports in general. Um, and yeah, LeBron chose the Philadelphia 76ers in the end. And I just want to drive home the fact that LeBron really believes and trusts in the process. And I want to praise the whole trust in the process philosophy, slogan, marketing plan, whatever you want to call it, for the Philadelphia 76ers, because this thing has been going on ever since Joel Embiid has gotten drafted to the Philadelphia 76ers. So I feel like a lot of teams wouldn't stick with something for this long, especially with knowing how Joel Embiid deals with his own injuries and his own personal issues and whatnot, just not being available. So I think we should praise this whole trust the process philosophy or slogan, building an actual sustainable, effective basketball team for their fans and for the NBA as well. They've gone through so many different iterations and variations and so many different teams over the last couple of years with the Joel Embiid. They've had Ben Simmons, they've had Markelle Fultz, they've had Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, JJ Redick. They've went from a Ben Simmons to a James Harden, from a James Harden to a Paul George. They've drafted a Tyrese Maxey. They've drafted a VJ Edgecombe, and they've now traded Paul George for a Jaylen Brown, which is kind of like a lick if you ask me. Um, and now they have just signed LeBron freaking James to the roster, and I think it's just telling how if you just stick to the daily habits and the weekly habits and the year to year process of getting better year by year and doing what you have to do to set yourself up for sustainability and also to potentially win a championship and contend, eventually you will enjoy the fruits of your labor. I think now, even a decade later, I know Joel Embiid is not the most available player. I know Joel Embiid can be someone that you kind of it's kind of like a liability at this point in terms of can you really win with a player that's never really prepared for a long playoff run just because he deals with so many different lower body injuries and health issues and whatnot. Can you really win with a player like that? And at the end of the day, if they don't end up winning a championship with the likes of a LeBron James on the roster, all you could do, in my opinion, what I would do is just praise the likes of the Philadelphia 76ers front office over the last 10 years, just because they have set this team up year by year to legitimately win a championship. And the only two things you could really blame on them not winning is number one, Joel Embiid's health, and number two, a freaky Kawhi Leonard shot 7 years ago in 2019 that sent them home in the second round. Other than that, they probably would have been in the finals or let alone champions if they just had some luck go their way. And I think when you stay persistent and when you stay consistent with your motto, with your philosophy, with the whole trust the process type of thing that they have going on, I think finally it's kind of coming together. And it's still, who knows, it still might not work out. Um, Everything still is in the balance of Joel Embiid's health. The Philadelphia 76ers have placed their team in a situation to where they have been sustainable, competitive. They have been a team that the fans could really root for. They have done so many different things over the last couple of years to really win a championship and be competitive. And they've always stayed competitive, but they just haven't won it at the highest level yet. But they still find a way to just keep going and to just figure things out. And I think we should all praise that, to be honest. So I want to see some more praise for the whole trust the process philosophy and kind of team building scheme that they've put on for the last 10 years, because I think the persistence in which they have pursued um, this championship with the Joel Embiid and the amount of players and rosters and coaches that they have surrounded Joel Embiid over the last couple of years, they've really tried. So, and it's not easy to win a championship. So I think we should all put some praise on trusting in the process. And I think as well, it's telling that out of all the teams that LeBron James could have chose, he opened himself up to all 29 teams. Now, obviously, he was not going to go to like the majority of those teams. We were not going to see him on a Sacramento Kings roster or Brooklyn Nets, or we were not going to see him in a New Orleans Pelicans jersey. Um, so obviously, he wasn't going to go to just any team in the NBA. Obviously, the one thing that we did know was that he wanted to have some sort of basketball happiness or some sort of happiness to end his career. And to me, that meant winning a championship or giving him the best possibility of winning another championship. And number two, I guess family, whatever that means to him, just family, just spending time with family, spending time with his loved ones and friends, and just kind of enjoying the last couple of years of his career in the NBA. So that pretty much narrows it down to 5 teams or so. You have the Cleveland Cavaliers coming back home again, the Miami Heat, another familiar place, the Golden State Warriors, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and of course the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, every team kind of had its flaws, but for the most part, these teams were actually some realistic destinations for him to legitimately win a championship. There was no perfect puzzle piece fit, but for any of these teams, in my opinion, but these were just the teams that made sense, and there were some teams that were better than others. Like some of the worst teams that he probably could have gone to was like the Miami Heat. I think would have been the worst destination for LeBron to go to. I don't think it would have been a terrible fit. I think it would have been a competitive team. They would have been in the playoffs for sure. They would have been a good team to watch throughout the season. It just would have been very clunky. There's just some other simple and easier fits for LeBron James instead of Miami. Um, and yeah, that's just what it would have been. I think that team, Miami's whole Miami's personal process of things is to kind of just bring in guys that could fill in those roster spots and they could play a role and they get the most out of what they have on the roster, which is an impressive thing to do. But I think you would just be forcing things at that point, adding LeBron James, and there's just not enough shooting on the roster. There's still a lot of different things that they would have had to do to really make that roster complete and actually be like a legitimate for sure contender in terms of just rounding the roster out. And I feel like that would have been kind of like forced. And there's just other teams and other destinations that would have been better for LeBron James. So I think Miami would have been the last option to go to. Personally, the Minnesota Timberwolves would have been exciting in terms of him playing with Anthony Edwards. I think that would have been a nice fit. You got Ant Man, you got LaMelo Ball, you got Jaden McDaniels, you got Rudy Gobert. Those players would have been nice to pair with LeBron James. I just think when you look at the market of a Minnesota, I know he doesn't care about money anymore. He just took an $8 million deal. So at this point, the financial success has already been reached. So it's really just about basketball happiness and just playing good basketball and just making his legacy as strong as possible once he retires. But even with that, I think he still wants to be somewhere that's just a better market for himself. He's 41 years old. I don't think I don't think any super successful 41-year-old would want to live in a market like Minnesota. It's freezing cold over there. If anything, I would think LeBron would want to be somewhere that's warm, somewhere that he can play golf all year round, right? So I don't think Minnesota would have been that destination just because of the location, and I don't think the vibes would have been exactly what LeBron James was looking for. And then, of course, you have the Golden State Warriors, which I think would have been the best destination for him in terms of checking every single box. It would have been close to LA. It would have been in a big market. The basketball fit would have been great as well, playing with the greatest shooter of all time, playing with your best friend in Draymond Green. You have Yaxel Lindenborg, a promising rookie that you could win with now. You have Porzingis, who would complement LeBron's game pretty nicely. And they just have a pretty solid team over there that would fit with what LeBron wants to do, how LeBron wants to play, and I think it just would have been a great basketball fit. So when I look at all the boxes that needed to be checked for LeBron James in this free agency, I think the Warriors really check all of those boxes. But that team would have been old as crap, and I think I would have had some questions in terms of the durability of that team as well. Steph Curry has had his injuries last year. Porzingis, he's not going to play more than half the games on a season. I would be surprised. That's just what it is. That's just the player that he is. He's not the most durable player. Jimmy Butler is coming back from injury off of that ACL, so I'm pretty confident that Jimmy Butler is always going to be a productive player, but we don't know how good he's really going to look coming off of an ACL injury. This is the first time I think that Jimmy Butler has had this type of injury as well, so we'll see how that works out. Moses Moody had that gruesome knee injury as well, so who knows if he's even going to be able to play next season. Um, and there's just a lot of age on the roster. Al Horford, he's still in the NBA, still proving that he could be an NBA player, but Al Horford is almost as old as LeBron at this point, I would assume. So um, they would have just been a very old team. Probably could have used a little bit more youth, and I would have questioned their durability. So I don't think the Warriors would have been a great destination for LeBron. With those things, it would have checked every single box, but just too old of a team, durability questions, and most importantly, seeing LeBron end his career in a Warriors jersey would have been so freaking weird to see. So I think I could say that for everybody, just because of the history and the turmoil and the rivalries. Of the Cavaliers and the Warriors in the finals, it just would have looked weird to see LeBron end his career in a Warriors jersey. So I think that would have been a no. And then of course he could have went back home to Cleveland on some homecoming part two kind of storybook ending. That was my destination for him. They have a team that's capable of getting to the finals and winning a championship with their talent on the roster. I think him and Donovan Mitchell would have played well together. I think Evan Mobley and Jared Allen would have been just fine. There would have been some questions with the James Harden, but I think my personal opinion is that they would have been able to figure out a way for it to work. I know LeBron is coming off of being a third option next to Luka and Austin Reeves, so it probably would have been a similar situation in Cleveland, playing with Donovan Mitchell, playing with James Harden. But I think he would have been able to sacrifice for his last year, kind of figure things out on the offensive end in terms of sharing the orchestration and the point guard role with the James Harden. Um, and then also another problem with that roster would have been, I think, some of the depth, and also just like they don't really have like a legitimate perimeter point of attack defender, and that would have been a problem as well. And if you're asking LeBron to do that at this stage in his career, I don't know if you really want to do that, to be honest with you. So, um, Cleveland was a worthy destination. It would have checked a lot of boxes as well, but I think his ship has sailed in Cleveland. I think he's kind of over giving Cleveland everything he's got. He gave Cleveland that championship in 2016. There you go. I'm not gonna try to bust my ass and try to do that again for you guys. I'm gonna go somewhere else, and that just leaves the last and final destination of the Philadelphia 76ers. And out of all the destinations he could have gone to, he could have went to San Francisco, he could have went to Miami, he could have came back to Cleveland. He chose the Philadelphia 76ers. And when I look at a team that, if I was LeBron James, I'm looking at the landscape and saying, if I'm going to a team that I haven't been to before, that's not Miami or that's not Cleveland and that's not LA, what city really deserves my presence? What city really deserves my greatness? What city really would show me love? When I show them love, would they show me love back? What city would that really be to end my career? Because that would give me some happiness. And on top of that, I want to win a championship and kind of be in a nice market and be around a team that's going to make my life as easy as possible on the court. And really, the Philadelphia 76ers check every single box. I'm a New York Knicks fan. I'm a New Yorker. Of course, you can see the jersey in the back. It pains me to say this about Philadelphia, but it's just true. Has one of the most enthusiastic and also competitive sports fans out there. Similar to New York, similar to probably a Chicago or LA, any type of big market in the United States. Philadelphia probably has the most competitive, and they care so much about their sports teams and their sports over there in Philly that it's the city of brotherly love for a reason. So a team would open their arms to a LeBron James to bring the 76ers back to championship status, and after 40 something years of just not having one. So I think when you look at a team that really deserves a LeBron James, that really deserves his presence, that would show him love, and vice versa, and that he would show his city love to back, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are that destination. And then on top of that, you are playing with four other guys in VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Jaylen Brown. That is a phenomenal starting five. The offense, I think, is going to come easy. There's going to have to be plenty of sacrifice that's going to have to go on for this team to really win a championship at the end of the day. Just because when you look at so many ball handlers, so many scorers, just so many guys that can create offense, you need some guys that can do some of the little things. You need guys that are going to be able to sacrifice. And when I look at their bench, I think their bench unit isn't that bad, to be honest with you. I look at a guy like Justin Edwards. He's going to be kind of their spot up guy from three. If he could just keep things simple and kind of just be a solid wing that plays good basketball and could just like hit those spot up 3-point shots, and he shot the ball pretty well from three over his last over his first 2 years in the league. I think he's going to be a valuable player off that bench, and he's not going to get in anybody's way. I look at Lebron Fallon, who's a great draft pick. He dropped significantly in this draft class. I think LeBron Fallon, if he could play some defense like he did at Alabama, especially in his freshman year, and kind of just be a steady ball handler out that bench and just like do what he does and just find and carve out a role for himself, I think he could have some value on this team as well, even as a rookie. Anthony Simons is going to be looked at as the sixth man for this team. I think he's obviously his role is going to be to provide that shooting, microwave scoring, a little bit of ball handling as well. Um, my only question for Anthony Simons is the fact that I'm not sure if they really need him at this point. I think they have so much offensive firepower, creation, ball handling, scoring, that they might not really need a player like Anthony Simons. Now, he might just enhance what they already have. That's a possibility as well. But I don't know if they really need a player like Anthony Simons. To me, this team could use like a Marcus Smart. This team could use like a PJ Tucker type of a player. Just anyone that's willing to do the dirty work and that's willing to do the things that the star players aren't really necessarily used to doing or accustomed to doing. Pretty much a player that can do the little things. So I think with this team, you might benefit a little bit more from the less is more philosophy of things. It's kind of like you might not get one for one. You might not get a player as good as Anthony Simons, but if you could trade Anthony Simons for like this is just a random name for like a Dorian Finney-Smith or something that could just come in there, provide some length, provide some defense, some spot up shooting, and be that typical, I guess, 3-and-D type of wing or small forward or forward on the team to just do some things that the other guys aren't really willing to do, to go up there and guard the best player on the opposing team. I think those are the type of players that you want to see on this team moving forward. But really, I think Justin Edwards, Anthony Simons, LeBron Fallon, and then of course you got Ariel Hukporti, you got Adem Bona. Those are going to be Joel Embiid's backup big men. Those are the athletes in the front court backing up Joel Embiid. I think if they could just rebound the ball well, be athletes, be athletic, kind of be great rollers and whatnot, I think they'll have a solid role for them. So you'll have Ariel Hukporti and Adem Bona kind of backing up a player like Joel Embiid. I don't care if Joel Embiid plays 20 games. I don't care if he plays 25, 30. I don't care if he plays less than half of the games in the regular season. As long as he could just be ready for the playoffs, be healthy for the playoffs, last all the way through the playoffs, and just be in rhythm going into the playoffs, I think he will. That's just enough for them to actually win a championship and probably and honestly get to the finals. Um, and as long as Adem Bona or Ariel Hukporti don't really have to start in the playoffs for them for a couple games, I think they'll be okay. As long as they can have virtually their main five guys, it's going to be hard to see them not at least get to the conference finals against my New York Knicks in the year of 2027. So when I look at Dembona and Ariel Hukporti, I think those are going to be some nice athletes and interior presence players going into the season. I think that's going to be their role. Just be in the paint, be dominant, rebound the basketball, block shots if you can. Just be phenomenal backup forwards and centers. That's all you got to do. So, and really to win a championship, you really only need like a solid 7-8 man rotation. So obviously you have Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, LeBron James, VJ Coleman, Joel Embiid, and then if you just sprinkle in Justin Edwards and Anthony Simons, and then probably like an Adem Bona or Ariel Hukporti, those are like 8 or 9 guys that could actually be like legitimate, phenomenal rotation players. So if they could just have like a phenomenal top 7, top 8 on the team, this team will be okay. So personally, like I said, I think they could just use some more guys that are going to do the little things. If they could get like a Marcus Smart type of a player, or like a PJ Tucker kind of a player, even though PJ Tucker is retired now, but If they could get guys that can do the little things, I think I think this team will be complete. I think it will be like a chef's kiss. I think that would be like the cherry on top. But other than that, I think with the way the roster is constructed, it looks sexy. It looks overpowering. To be honest with you, like I said, I'm a Knicks fan, as you can see over here. I have all the confidence in the world against this team. Still, we are champions. If you're a Knicks fan and you're not confident going into next season, I don't know what to tell you. We just became NBA champions. We should be feeling good right now. We should not be feeling scared or nervous or anything about any other team, until the time comes for the 2027 playoffs, at the very least. So, but yeah, this team should be like a top two team in the East next season. They're gonna have to sacrifice. Joel Embiid is gonna have to stay healthy if they want to win a championship. There's going to be some growing pains probably just because they're adding two significant pieces in a Jaylen Brown and a LeBron James. But I think when you have this amount of talent, all you got to do is really sacrifice, stay healthy, and you could you'll win the championship at the end of the day, in my opinion, especially in a 2-year span with LeBron's contract. So, with that being said, I think this is legitimately the best roster and starting five, or just like rotation, or this is the best rotation of players that LeBron is probably ever going to play with in his career, and it's well deserved because he's played with so many different teams in his career, and I think being 41 years old, playing in 23, 24 seasons at this point, there's nothing he could really do to hurt his legacy. So yeah, go to a team that you're going to stack the deck. I don't mind that at all. So, this is legitimately like going to be a phenomenal team to watch. I mean, when you think about it, if you take away Jaylen Brown and LeBron James off this roster, it's pretty much going to be the team from last year. So, in terms of rotations, you can have combinations of LeBron James and Tyrese Maxey on the court. You can have combinations of Tyrese Maxey and Jaylen Brown. You can have Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. You can have VJ Edgecombe and LeBron. You can have VJ Edgecombe and Jaylen Brown. You can have Embiid and LeBron on the court. You can have Embiid and Jaylen Brown on the court. You should be able to have like legitimately like two all star caliber players on the court at all times. Like legitimately, this is probably going to be put in some debates of like, is this like a super team? Because I think the era of like a super team is kind of like flushed out now, just because like, as we all know, you need a legitimate team from top to bottom. You want a superstar player, you want co-stars, you want phenomenal role players. You need a legitimate team to win a championship now in the NBA. But looking at this roster, they should be able to have two all-star caliber players on the court at all times, with plenty of scoring, shot creating, ball handling, playmaking on the court as well. So, yeah. And then on top of that, they have Nick Nurse, who won a championship back in 2019. And if there's any coach that could win a championship with such a new roster and that could just figure out ways to be creative and make things effective on the court, I think Nick Nurse is one of those coaches as well. So, realistically, but or like in hindsight now, seeing that LeBron has actually chosen the Philadelphia 76ers for his last couple of years in the league, my idea was like either the Warriors or the Cleveland Cavaliers would have been the best decisions for him. I think that checks every single box. But now in hindsight, just seeing everything kind of play out, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are actually like the perfect destination for a player like LeBron James. The only problem that I have with this move is just the fact that Joel Embiid, you just don't know. You don't know what he's really going to be like going into next season with his health. You just don't know. But at the end of the day, all you're asking for Joel Embiid, it's kind of like that meme, right? Just give me one more day.
Can you give me one more day?
Just give me one more day, one more playoff series, one more playoff run. Just give me 1 year, one playoff run of just being available. If he could just do that, they will legitimately or most likely win a championship in the year of 2027 or 2028. So that's all you're asking from a Joel Embiid. But other than that, this team has everything you need. I think this team's depth isn't as scarce as some people are saying. And then on top of that, if everything goes to hell, if everything just backfires, they still have so much talent and players on this team to where they can make a move or two if they need to balance out this roster. And if they don't end up winning a championship with LeBron James, they'll still have a core of Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe, and then probably an aging Joel Embiid. So that's still a pretty strong core to stay competitive moving forward over the next 3, 4, 5 years as well. So yeah, I think this destination for LeBron is honestly like, I think in hindsight now, the deck is just so stacked at this point for this team that it's just like, yeah, I think this makes sense for LeBron James, and I'm super super excited to see what it looks like going into next season. Uh, yeah, this team is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be fun. It's going to be highlight filled. Um, and like if I'm LeBron James, I'm looking at Tyrese Maxey like you better shoot it every time you're open. I'm looking at Jaylen Brown like you better be the best two-way player in the league. I'm looking at Joel Embiid saying like, hey, if you play 12 games this season, it is what it is. Just be ready by playoff time. If you could just be ready for a playoff run and be ready to go and just last throughout the playoffs, I'll take that. I'm looking at a VJ Edgecombe if I'm LeBron, and I'm just gonna be like, hey, just learn from the older guys, learn from the vets, and just learn how to be a legitimate star in this league. And then of course, if I'm LeBron James, my role is just to tie things together, tie the knots and tighten the screws wherever I can, and kind of just be a good leader and just connect all the dots that I can for this team to legitimately win a championship in the year of 2027 or in his option year of 2028. So yeah, I love this move for LeBron. It's an A+ move in my opinion. There would have been risks going to any other team, whether if it was the Warriors, the Heat, the Timberwolves, or even the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers. I think there would have been risks going to any one of those teams, but I really like this decision by LeBron James. As a Knicks fan, it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a tougher Eastern Conference. It's going to be a tougher season for us going into next season just because we're the reigning NBA champs. So we know we have a target on our back. We still have a great team. We're still going to be contenders. We still have a strong chance of getting back to the finals and being in and winning a championship again going into next season. But it's definitely going to be more difficult. There's more stars in the East. There's so much turnover and kind of flip flopping and trades and signings in this offseason. It's been ridiculous. So. But I'm excited regardless. I think the East is going to be phenomenal next year. And yeah, man, I just can't believe that LeBron James is going to finish his career out as a Philadelphia 76er. But it's going to look pretty fun. This team is going to be ridiculous once they get things kind of like going. It's going to take a little while to get like a legitimate, well-oiled machine out of the 76ers. But I think halfway through the season, once they really start to figure things out, and Nick Nurse has like a great pulse on this team of where to go and how to play, this team is going to be quite special. So if you're a Sixers fan, I'm sure you're happy. I'm happy as a basketball fan in general. It's still Knicks in 5, of course. So yeah, Knicks in 5 at the end of the day. But yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. LeBron James is a Philadelphia 76er. We're excited, we're happy, and we'll see what the rest of free agency would look like. Because obviously LeBron James allows everybody to continue their free agency and continue the offseason. You have the initial free agency, and then you have the LeBron James free agency. So it's kind of like you have two different periods of decisions to make if you're an NBA team. So we'll see what the rest of the offseason looks like. But regardless, this has been the craziest offseason that I've ever seen. And yeah, so I thank you guys for watching this video, and there's gonna be more content on the way. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you in the next video, man. Peace.